1, 2, 3, 4.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? It's Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. This is episode 172, and I'm calling this bad boy dirty. Fucking dirty. This episode's called Dirty. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about UFC Orlando, headlined by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Kevin Holland. We're going to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to give some predictions. We're going to talk about UFC 282. We're going to talk about, it's a sick card regardless. This UFC 282 is stacked. All right, so we're definitely going to talk about that. But we're going to talk about what I thought was a pretty dirty showing at UFC Orlando when we touch on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Kevin Holland. It's just that, like, when I'm watching this fight and I'm live tweeting, I'm seeing just nothing but the opposite. People are like, they're just going crazy for this fight. We're going to talk about that in a second here. But if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast for whatever reason at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button, I'd appreciate it so much. And if you guys are on Twitch, go ahead and follow your boy at twitch.tv/Babylon5. I did stream like a week ago, or whenever Thanksgiving was. I streamed on Thanksgiving, so there was that. I'll try to do it again when I can. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod. And I know I said like 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what, I'm moving away from the whole Patreon thing, and then we're going to focus on YouTube. And then I had issues recording these videos here to even post to YouTube, so it was like, let me just shut my black ass up and figure out how to do this shit. I don't know, my fucking external hard drive, she was reliable for a few years here, but occasionally now she just won't appear it's like if I use my Mac Mini, it wouldn't show up, but if I plug the same shit into my fucking MacBook, it'll show. So I figured, like, sometimes it just needs some fucking around with before it shows sometimes. And then I gotta fucking stay the fuck away from it. I need a new external. That's where this story is coming to me in my mind here. I'm gonna need a new external. But I wasn't able to do these videos, and now thankfully I'll have one hopefully going forward, because it was a pretty easy fix. I was just frustrated, I was just real frustrated, and I guess I didn't do my audio engineering troubleshooting that I learned so well. Just gotta keep troubleshooting, man. I was just annoyed. But now we got the video. It's back. It's going down. I was frustrated, and I'm going to talk to you about some frustrations I had last night. But before we get to that, man, couple fighters that I felt like, a few fighters on the night I felt like had a pretty good night. And you got Yasmin Haraguay. I think that's how you pronounce that last name, I believe. Apologize if I'm slaughtering that. But she looked amazing. Showed, in my opinion, a very high fight IQ. Very talented, very young. Like, she will be a problem in the next few years here. At least she should. She looks pretty amazing. The grappling, the striking, just the fight IQ. Knowing when to be where she has it. So be on the, if you guys did not watch that Yasmin Haraguay fight versus Estela Nunes, check that fight out. It's a pretty good fight. Also on the night, this guy, I would say I was sleeping on, Sergey Pavlovich. He defeated Derek Lewis in his, like, 2 months, was it? Well, not 2 months ago. He defeated Derek Lewis back in, like, August, I believe. And if I recall, I know it was, like, Brady Fest here in Milwaukee that night. So I was, like, out on the streets and, like, trying to check the fights on my phone. And then I, like, pulled out the fights on my phone and, like, saw, like, Derek Lewis get finished, and I thought it was a weird finish from Sergey Pavlovich. So, like, I wasn't all the way sold on Sergey Pavlovich. And we had, like, you know, when he fought Alistair Overeem. But, so I wasn't all the way sold on Sergey Pavlovich. But he walks in there and walks through Tai Tuivasa in 54 seconds of the very first round. Just 54 seconds is all he needs to finish Bam Bam. Bam Bam hit him a few times with some looping overhands as he does, but it looked like it had no effect on Pavlovich. Pavlovich walked through all that shit. Ate everything you had to offer and then put that nigga down. Alright? He fucked Tai Tuivasa up. Tai Tuivasa just got knocked out 2 months ago against Cyril Gane. And now here he is getting finished. People were like, see, he shouldn't have came back as fast as he did. I don't think the way Pavlovich looked in there, I don't think it would have made a difference if he waited 2 more months. They were talking about maybe he should have fought in Perth. But maybe he should fight in Perth instead, just, like, waited to fight in Perth. But, like, I don't believe that's going to make a difference if he's fighting that dude. That dude is a fucking tank. He just walked through it, all right? Ty hit him a few times, but he just, it didn't even, like, impede his movement in the least bit. We've seen just the slightest touch send Cyril Gane to the canvas. All right, just the slightest of touches. Pavlovich walked through all that shit. So I was sleeping on Sergey Pavlovich, but that dude is a monster. RDA gets a win. As everybody knew, he was gonna just grapple. He's gonna out-grapple Barberena. Barberena has a terrible takedown defense, and that was the case. He submitted Barberena, if I'm not mistaken. And then he calls out Conor McGregor. See, it's so, RDA is one of those guys that are weird to me. Those, like, RDA, Jorge Masvidal, even this fucking guy, Stephen Thompson. You guys are like, give me strikers if you want me to have good fights or some shit. They'll say that shit. Like, if you want me to have exciting fights, give me a striker. Because they get dominated by fucking grapplers. They're going to lose if you give them a grappler. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, please give me a matchup that I'll most likely win. And then I'm going to fight the champion, hopefully, who grapples. And as time has shown, I'm going to fucking lose that fight. That's what's weird to me. These people are like, oh, give me favorable. They keep They're saying I'm the baddest motherfucker in whatever weight class. I'll fight anybody, but please give me a favorable matchup. Like, you got Jorge talking about crotch sniffers and shit like that. Like, that's just, he's trying to, like, mind fuck you into not grappling with him. Let's just fucking have a kickboxing match. Because you guys, it's just silly, man. Maybe the sport has passed you. If you're at this point. RDA wants Conor. He also doesn't want to fight grapplers. He wants to fight people who don't have the grappling acumen that he does, so that he can take them down and out-grapple them. But he would like to fight strikers. It's fucking weird. So, the main event was Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland, and I was live tweeting. I recorded my reaction to it. I posted clips of it on Instagram, and it's not the fight that I was watching wasn't competitive after the first round. And from what we were told, hindsight, Holland apparently broke knuckles in his hand in the first round. See, disgusting shit. Repeatedly in this fight, twice. Like, it wasn't like a real takedown. It was like a clash. They would collide and fall over, and Holland would land up. He would land in like half mount. Alright? He'd land perfectly in half mount, and then he'd just stand up and let Wonder Boy get up. I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Is this not a fight? Like, why the fuck would you let this man up? That was very frustrating to see. And then, after the first round, Kevin Holland, who came in there with a 6-inch reach advantage, it didn't look as if he knew how to use that reach advantage at all, because he's just swinging and missing. He's hitting the air. Wonder Boy is just in and out, just touching him up 1-2s, and like Holland can't even find him. So after the first round, for me, it was pretty one-sided in the second round. By the end of the third round, I'm like, there was a couple times in there where I feel like Wonder Boy had this man hurt and could have just like put it on him, could have attempted to put it on him. He's in there essentially having his way with Kevin Holland in there. And by the end of the third, Kevin Holland, the expression, the body language from Kevin Holland, he was a defeated man in there. He looked very defeated. It's just gross, man. There's multiple times where I felt like Thompson could have just put it on him. In the fourth round, at one point, Kevin Holland is just like up against the fence, back to the cage. He's in his own corner, and like Thompson like kind of walked away to like let him walk to the middle of the octagon, and like Kevin Holland just stayed there at the fucking fence. He was fucking clearly compromised. All right. And he's just getting fucking teed off on. And I'm sitting here like, yo, Thompson could have fucking stopped this fight. He could have ended this fight, or at least gone for the stoppage, but he'll hold off on him to just let the fight keep going. To me, y'all are calling this man the nicest motherfucker. This was a one-sided beating. And a thing that he could have ended early, but just decided to let Holland survive so he could keep beating the shit out of Kevin Holland. When Kevin Holland's corner ultimately throws in the towel after the fourth round, because I'm sitting there like, at the end of the fourth round, it was another opportunity where, dude, Wonder Boy has Holland up against the fence. As I'm saying, Holland is not moving away from the fence. He's trying to stay up against the fence. He looks very compromised. And Wonder Boy is just teeing off on him, landing all these fucking spinning heel kicks, doing whatever the fuck he wants to Kevin Holland, and he drops Kevin Holland. And then he's on him. He's I believe a little bit ground and pound, and I'm saying, like, as you guys can see on Instagram, I'm like, dude, stop the fight. Like, he's not fighting back. He's not intelligently, I believe, defending himself. But as it happened multiple times in this fight, Wonder Boy just stood up, just stops, and let the time expire, like, so that he could fucking potentially fuck Kevin Holland up for another round. Dude, I felt like it was gross. Like, it could have been stopped. And I was so happy that his corner fucking stopped that fight, because we've seen too many times where they're like, no, you got it. Just go in there for this last round. And I'm screaming for them like, yo, stop this fucking fight. This is nasty. Holland's just up against the fence getting teed off on for like a round. And he didn't look too good in the previous round. He's getting beat up before that. Couldn't touch him. And now he's back against the fence getting teed off on. And y'all are like, wow, this is fight of the year. No, this is gross. At the end of the fight, the commentators were saying, like, how thankful they were that his team threw in the towel, because if it went into another round, Holland was looking at potential brain damage. This was a one-sided beating by the end of that, and people are calling that shit fight of the year. Nah, that's nasty. That's nasty. Y'all compare that to Yuri versus Glover? Y'all compare that to Yuri versus Glover? You're crazy. You compare that to Chandler Poirier? Nah, you're crazy. Those are actual fucking battles. Those are good fights. This is a one-sided beating. Kevin Holland had one good punch. He threw a straight punch in the first round, and he caught Wonder Boy. Then after that, he's just throwing these fucking looping hooks, and he's missing the target, nullifying his 6-inch reach advantage at every turn. At every turn, he just gave up his advantage to just have these low fight IQ, exchanges. I didn't get the logic of a lot of it with Kevin Holland. And he's just laughing and cracking jokes the whole time. It really, it took me back to, was it the Brunson fight? Where he kept doing that disgusting shit. There was like multiple fights where I was like, yo, I'm done with this Kevin Holland dude. That's what we saw in this fight. I was once again like, yo, bro, you could have done something right there, but you just chose not to. And now you're just joking around, talking to this part. It's so weird. I'd like to see just like a little more, I don't even know what it is. A little more focus? I don't know, man. Like, I understand this is your brand at this point, to try to talk and be entertaining. Oh, I didn't even start recording the fucking video. I understand that this is this is your brand, to fucking be talking and doing this shit, but my God, I just would like a little more focus from Kevin Holland. If Kevin Holland retired, right, if he feels like he can retire at this point, take like a year off and like really work on some shit. Really work on using that fucking reach advantage at that weight class. Because if he was throwing like some jabs, just keeping some jabs on, throwing some straight, some 1-2s in there, he would have been able to touch that man from such a distance. I mean, he's got him from the kicking range. There's work to be done. There's work to be done, but if he signs another quick fight, he was even still after this fight, talking about a rematch with Derek Brunson. He's talking about a rematch with Derek Brunson. I'm not interested in it. It's not something that I'd like to see anytime soon. That was not fight of the year by any means. It was one of the worst beatings. You compare that fight to like Holloway Cater or like Volkanovski Korean Zombie. That's the fight. Those are the kind of fights you can compare to that fight. What's that one guy that Sean O'Malley fought that was Chris Martino? Those are the kind of fights you compare that fight to. That's not fight of the year. There was a one-sided beating and dude, Wonder Boy's fucking gross. I saw a tweet from Bilal Muhammad. He was talking about he was like, that man's trying to take your head off in there. Like, he's like, all this hugging or whatever. Like, he's not your friend in there. He's coming at you, throwing these heel kicks to take your fucking head off. And he's in there smiling, laughing, high-fiving and shit, cracking jokes. Talking about their buddies. That man is in there fucking beating the fuck out of Kevin Holland. All right? And y'all are like, oh, Wonder Boy's all class. Just a great performance. You're fucking crazy. That fight was gross. He could have ended that fight a few times, but chose not to. He chose to keep beating on Kevin Holland. Wonder Boy's trash. And I hope he fights Hamzat Chimaev or Shavkat Rachmanov. I'm fucking up. Hope he fights Shavkat next, Rachmanov. Yeah, your boy's trash. Your boy's trash. UFC 282 is here. It is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Previously headlined by Yuri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira 2. But as I talked about last week, I believe, Yuri has a shoulder injury where they're saying the estimated recovery time is about a year. So he's probably going to be out for, shit, who knows? Maybe a year and a half before we see Yuri back in the action. Glover did not want to he felt disrespected by the notion that he should fight Magomed Ankalaev on such short notice, but he was willing to fight Jan Blachowicz. He was like, no, that's disrespectful to try to get me to fight Magomed, but I will fight Jan Blachowicz. They're like, nah, we don't want that. Like, fight Magomed. And he's like, nah, that's disrespectful. Like, I'm out. And, like, I don't know. I feel like once he turned it down, that should have been just it. Don't be going on this. Don't even come to me in these interviews and being like, I felt disrespected. You should have been like, you should probably not say anything, is honestly where I am if I'm Glover, because you were offered the fight to get the championship. And if you're the champion, you're saying they're telling you right now they want you to fight Magomed. Is that not going to be like your very next fight regardless? I'm so lost. You may as well just go ahead and get that ass whooping over with either way. Either way, this is the fight business. Somebody's about to get their ass kicked. Beat him up. Break his neck. Anywho, shout out to 3-6 Mafia. So we get Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev for the vacant light heavyweight championship. It's the championship round. And I don't even know. Anywho. tried to do the y'all already know the Future from 8 Mile. So for this fight, man, you know that Polish power is real. I think Jan looked great against Rakic in his last fight. That fight, people are like, oh, but it didn't. It ended weird. It's like, no, it ended the way it should have because Jan was fucking that leg up. He was checking kicks. He's doing what he should do. He's winning that fight. All right, I thought that was a legit win for me, in my opinion. And I feel like Ankalaev looked good on the same night. The same night that Derek Lewis fought Pavlovich, Ankalaev fought Anthony Smith. And I thought he looked great in there. I'm going to go with my boy Magomed Ankalaev and new. And this shouldn't be a surprise. I believe, at the end of the year last year, I was saying that give it a year or two, and all the champions are going to look similar to Magomed Ankalaev. With Islam Makhachev as the lightweight champion. In Bellator, we got Usman Nurmagomedov as the lightweight champion. Hamzat Chimaev is teased that he potentially will fight Alex Pereira for the 185-pound belt. He's talking about fighting Kobe. If he was already scheduled to fight Leon Edwards, but had to pull out due to COVID about a year ago or so, or 2 years at this point. So we might get a double champ there, if not Shavkat as the 170, and then Hamzat Chimaev is the 185. Magomed Ankalaev at 205. Is there a heavyweight? Maybe that's Sergey Pavlovich, if that counts. But I'm like, Sergey's Russian, right? I think that counts. Maybe. I was always a Blagoy Ivanov kind of guy. I was always a Blagoy Ivanov kind of guy. But I'm telling you, and it happened sooner than I thought. I know, because, this is just a freak thing that Ankalaev is getting a chance to become champion right now. I didn't know it would happen so soon. I thought definitely by 2023 he would have that fight. But just with how the division was, and with Jan being there, Glover, Yuri, and that whole little triangle there, I didn't know Ankalaev would get here so soon. But you got Nurmagomedovs at the lower weight classes, and they're about to take over. All right, all these guys that look similar from that Dagestan, Chechnya area, they're about to take over. I mean, we see it. I seen people hating on Twitter talking about do the Dagestanis know that they're ruining MMA? And it's like, I think you people are watching the wrong sport if you think the Dagestanis are ruining MMA because they're fucking badass. No. All right? If you guys know that these fighters from this area come in here with this style and they're all undefeated and you guys can't stop it, then that sounds like a personal problem. You know what I'm saying? If it was like American boxing style that was just dominating MMA, people who are really good at boxing, using their shoulder rolls and shit like that, if that was just like the style that was dominant, wouldn't you fucking work on your boxing defense, your boxing offense? Wouldn't that be something you fucking stressed? This isn't new, all right? This is not new, that this style of wrestling, if not just wrestling in particular, just being so fucking dominant. You know what I'm saying? I was just watching this video that, I'm not sure how true it is, but it was claiming that at UFC 1, the Gracies put in a clause of no wrestlers and how the whole thing was pretty much broadcast, and the shit they were forced to talk about is pretty much just an advertisement for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And then like shot up the members from like 70 some members to like thousands of members, apparently. Like over like from this month to that month, you went from like 74 members to thousands. Like, it was all an advertisement, and they said no wrestlers for a reason. And then when they finally let wrestlers in, was when the wrestler won the whole fucking thing, won the tournament. So I remember thinking like, well, clearly UFC 1 showed us Jiu-Jitsu is king. It showed us that, but they were like, keep them fucking wrestlers out of here. You're going to ruin the whole goddamn marketing plan. So Ankalaev, as I'm saying, I'm going Ankalaev to beat Jan Blachowicz in the co-main event. If this card stays together, we got a pretty crazy card here. It's Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. I'm not 100% sold on Paddy just yet, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Paddy in this one. Jared Gordon's okay. I think Paddy's okay. And I think Paddy's jiu-jitsu, his grappling, will most likely be the X factor in here for him. You know, that's what'll get him the win, is his grappling acumen. So I'm going to go with Paddy in this one. I didn't even realize this was happening until I was like looking it up yesterday. Like Robbie Lawler versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. That could be a pretty good fight there, ladies and gentlemen. We know that Ponzinibbio ain't what she used to be, ladies and gentlemen. Santiago Ponzinibbio, he looks in his last fight, he looked as if he lost a few steps, or a step or two. Let's just say a step. I'm not trying to be that disrespectful, but. And then we got Robbie Lawler, who's what, like 40? Robbie Lawler's probably like fucking 40. Let me check this shit out. Yeah, he is 40 years old. Santiago Ponzinibbio, 36. Robbie Lawler, 40. Pretty much the same height. Lawler with a 1-inch reach advantage. I'd like to see Lawler get a W here. But that should just be a fun fight there. You got Darren Till. I didn't know we'd ever see Darren Till fight again. Darren Till taking on Dricus du Plessis. That fight's crazy, okay? That fight is crazy. Dricus du Plessis got power. That fight could be nuts. And we've seen Darren Till training with everybody. He's training with Khamzat Chimaev. And who else did he recently train with? That I was like, that's pretty weird. I can't remember. Somebody that Khamzat had beef with. I thought that was pretty weird. Or is it that Khamzat was training with... No, I don't know. Actually, whatever. This fight is interesting. I don't know if we're going to see some new wrinkles in the game for Darren Till. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Who are these losses, I believe? Derek Brunson just out-grappled him. Then he just lost. He had a pretty good fight against Robert Whittaker. I'm not sure. The favorite here, according to Topology, is definitely du Plessis. Everybody's rolling with du Plessis. I honestly am rolling with the South African Dricus du Plessis. He's on a roll right now, man. He's got all the momentum going with him, and unless Till has made some major improvements out there training with Hamzat, I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong on there. Also, you got Bryce Mitchell versus Ilia Topuria that starts the main card. All right, that's a sick fight. This is an insane main card. Bryce Mitchell undefeated, 15-0. Went in there and beat the shit out of Edson Barbosa, his last fight. Ilia Topuria, 12-0. All right, somebody's O has to go. And according to Tapology, Topuria is the favorite. Most of the people are picking Ilia Topuria to beat Bryce Mitchell. This is pretty interesting to me. So Bryce Mitchell has the 3-inch height advantage. He's got the 1-inch reach advantage. This is actually, it's surprising to me that Bryce would be, well, that people on Tapology that are picking here are siding with Topuria. That's just honestly shocking to me. I can't see, unless I'm overlooking it, I'm not seeing who the favorite is, like for like betting odds. Like who's the dog? I feel like personally, Bryce Mitchell has had a stronger schedule than Ilia Topuria. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely gonna go with Bryce Mitchell to win this fight. He showed me a lot in his last fight against Barboza. We already know his grappling is insane. I think he's just gonna be the striking. I think on paper you would think that like the striking advantage is gonna be with Topuria. You know what I'm saying? Obviously you think that. And I think you would have thought that going into the Edson Barboza fight as well. So I think we're definitely going to see that Bryce Mitchell can take care of himself wherever the fight goes. And I think he's going to be the better fighter here. So I'm going Bryce Mitchell to defeat Ilia Topuria, man. There's just a lot of good fights. Billy Quarantino versus Alex Hernandez. That's going to be an interesting fight. Edmund Shabazian back in action versus Delcha Lumglambula. I hate when that guy fights only because I struggle with that name so bad. Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus Chris Dawkins. We just saw Kyle Dawkins get finished by your boy Eric Anders. It's pretty one-sided. I thought Kyle was probably one of the more talented of the Dawkins brothers. I thought he was fucking Kevin Holland up when he was fighting Kevin Holland, but he got fucking ran through by Eric Anders. I thought that was going to be a pretty one-sided fight the other way, but I was absolutely wrong. But his brother is in action versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I think this is a must-win for Rosenstrike. And most people are going Rosenstrike to win this. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Oh, he had a win against I was like, who did he beat? Augusto Sakai. I think he's overrated. But he lost to Blades, Alexander Volkov. Of course, he lost to Cyril Gane. Got knocked out in 20 seconds by Francis Ngannou. He did beat Junior Dos Santos in there, though. Did beat Junior Dos Santos. Who did Dawkins? I know he lost to Derek Lewis. Oh, and then he lost to Curtis Blades. Oh, I don't even remember that fight. Maybe I do. Actually, I don't think I remember that fight. But I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting fight. I mean, if he wants to stand with Biggie Boy, I don't think that's a good idea for Dawkins. But we got the youngest fighter, the 17-year-old that signed with the UFC, Raul Rosas Jr. is fighting Jay Perrin. All right, we got this undefeated. He's possibly still 17. Nope, he turned 18. So the 18-year-old he signed when he was 17, fought on Dana White's Contender Series, and now he's making his pay-per-view debut against Jay Perrin, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. All right, so I'd say they gave him a pretty favorable matchup. This guy, Raul Rosas, he looks like, how like Zabit just has all these techniques. Like, he knows a lot of techniques, but I didn't feel like the fucking fight IQ was there. I personally felt like I saw him making a lot of weird mistakes in there where I was like, dude, he's going to get in here with one of these, like, 30-year-old veterans that have had 25 fights, gritty fucking wars, and he's going to throw these weird, spinny jumps shit and just get knocked the fuck out. But it seems like they're giving him a pretty favorable matchup here against Jay Perrin. I'm pretty interested in that. You got Chris Curtis versus Joaquin Buckley, dude. That's the prelims. That's the fucking prelims. Chris Curtis versus Joaquin Buckley. That fight's going to be crazy. All right. We got OSP fighting this guy, Antonio Tricol. Tricol? Never heard of this guy. I don't believe I've heard of this guy. Nope. First fight. This will be his UFC debut. He's coming out of Brazilian Fighting Series. I guess that would probably be like a Dana White Contender Series in Brazil. But he's making his UFC debut against OSP. I don't know. I would keep OSP off your cards. I put Angela Hill and Michael Johnson in my card on DraftKings initially. And then, like an hour before the card, I was like, what am I doing? I better take these guys out of here. They always lose fights I feel like they should win easily. And then they both won their fights. And I put like Tai Tuivasa in there, knocked out, and gets knocked out in 54 seconds. Like, everybody I put in there was like, damn, like, I should have just left it how I had it. Like, I should have trusted my heart. But I did not, unfortunately. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stacked card next week. And I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. I'm going to try to, like, record a fight companion or whatever for the main card next week. I'm pretty hyped for that. But if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can email this podcast at Babylon5Podcast@gmail.com. You guys can hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast. If you made it thus far, I appreciate it so much. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Twitch, watch your boy play some games, head on over to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to comp some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my Niji, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my patron. Randomly, before I get out of here, not so random because I actually wrote it in my notes, but I was like, I don't feel like talking about it. But here we go. So my wife had never watched Game of Thrones, but I decided, like, House of Dragon's out. that's fire. They're about to drop another spinoff, so it's gonna be a lot of like Game of Thrones-esque shit on the fucking TV. It'd be cool at this point if we could just watch it at the same time rather than me trying to like find time to watch it, because I'm not trying to like bore her with this shit. She has no idea what's going on, so I'm gonna force her to watch it. She wasn't really into it at first, but by the second season, when the baby dragons are there, she's real into the baby dragons, and I see her getting invested, into certain characters or whatever. But we had gotten to the Red Wedding, and there's a point where Rob and his wife are talking about if they're gonna have a boy or a girl, and she says to me, Sarah's like, "Oh, is it gonna be a boy or a girl?" And then she's like, "Oh, don't tell me." And and I'm just like, because I'm like, it's about to go down like in 5 minutes here. It's about to go down, and then the Red Wedding happens, and then that's like the second to last episode of season 3, and we just watched episode 2 of season 4, which was the Purple Wedding. So by the end of season 3, she's just like, she hates Joffrey, and I'm just like, say no more. Let's just watch a couple more episodes, because that's gonna be taken care of. But what was wholesome for me, I don't know if anybody, I didn't know that I could ever see this, but like me knowing what was about to happen in the Red Wedding, you know what I'm saying? And then just like knowing she was like getting invested in these characters, and like had no clue like half of the niggas you think are the main characters were all about to be murdered here. All right, no clue. And I was like, damn, I can just like sit back and watch her reaction more than anything here, and that was pretty fucking cool. So if you guys have the opportunity to force someone to watch Game of Thrones just so they can get invested, you can watch them get invested in characters, develop these opinions, these theories about these characters, and just watch how every character they've had a theory about gets murdered. Like, it's like, nope, that's not gonna happen. None of that's gonna. I remember when, like 10 years ago or whatever, when the shit was on, and I remember like thinking that Robb Stark was the main character, and he was gonna ride down to like King's Landing somehow, and like win the shit, take the throne, like the new rebellion. And then the fucking Red Wedding happened, and I was like, dude, what is this show? Like, I didn't understand what was going on, and I was like, maybe it's gonna be Arya. And then I could see that like Jon Snow, they were kind of setting him up, but I'm like, he already gave up all his like his titles. He's man of the Night's Watch and everything. So like, but I know how the rest of it goes, but it's pretty interesting to see. Anywho, that's my little spiel on forcing my wife to watch Game of Thrones, and thankfully she's into it, so when we get the spinoff that's coming next year, I believe, and then the next season, House of the Dragon, she can be right there with me knowing everything that's going on. But thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you when I see you. I'll holler.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.